If you've ever...
Welcome to today's show. Bird, bird, bird. Bird is the word. Or is the word control? Or is the word scam? Well, there's a lot of words that I can come up with to describe the latest narrative for our food shortage. Are people paying attention? Boy, it's like, man, the odds of all these things happening at once, like planes flying into processing plants or trains not delivering fertilizer because of congestion, or the FBI reporting cyber hacks, or, I don't know, the government flushing all the food down the toilet. How's that? I don't know what more people need to hear to realize that the governments around the world are creating a food shortage so they can gain more control of their citizens, because unfortunately, our fathers and our forefathers, our grandfathers, I should say, in years past, have allowed the government to gain control of everything. And now that the government has full control, we've taken things like food for granted and obsessed over things that don't matter. If you don't know what I'm talking about, why don't you just go look at the latest rap video or trending music video that's out there on YouTube talking about relationships or what a woman is, or money, 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 getting high, all that kind of stuff. And people forgetting that the most important thing in life is, other than God, of course, but to survive, is food and water. So how convenient when we have the globalists talking about a great reset that we're running out of food and water. But they're not running out of excuses as to why there isn't any food and water. And the supply chain as well. I mean, there's a lot of things. Russia, the one-niner. Well, what's the latest you asked? Sorry. It's the bird flu.
Chinese residents aren't the only ones in lockdown.
Yeah, farmers across the U.S. and Europe are keeping their organic and free-range chickens inside amidst the worst outbreak of avian influenza in years. More than 35 million birds have been wiped out this year alone in one of the worst bird flu outbreaks in U.S. history. In France, government officials are temporarily requiring farmers to keep their chickens indoors, as roughly 16 million birds have been culled due to the outbreak. Infections have also been reported in other European nations, including Britain, Italy, and Spain.
Joining us now is Dr. William Schaffner. He's a professor of infectious diseases at the Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Dr. Schaffner, welcome. It's always great to have you with us. So can you explain exactly why U.S. officials are encouraging farmers to keep their chickens inside, and French officials are going so far as to require it?
Yeah, so Tanya, influenza viruses obviously can affect birds, not just domestic poultry, but wild birds. And the wild birds are the great distributors of this virus during their migratory flights. And so the authorities are saying keep those domestic fowl indoors so that these migratory birds don't come down and mingle with your chickens and ducks and geese and spread the virus to them and then fly off. So we're trying to protect the agricultural industry, trying to protect those domestic ducks, chickens, turkeys, and the like.
Dr. Schaffner, the CDC, as you know, confirmed a case of the bird flu in a Colorado man last week. This is the first person in the U.S. and only the second person ever to test positive for the virus. Any reason why people should be concerned here?
Not really, because what we know so far is that these bird flu viruses are not readily transmitted to people, and certainly not from person to person. There is the occasional person who has very close contact with infected birds where this virus can go, for example, from a chicken to an individual and cause illness in that person. But there's essentially no risk of spread to other people at the present time. So the World Health Organization is watching this around the globe, and if anything changes, we'll be the first to know.
So, Doctor, in terms of curbing the spread of the outbreak, is it just as simple as keeping the chickens inside the coop?
Well, that's the main thing. Now, if your flock does become infected, it can produce disease and obviously be the source of infection for flocks in the neighborhood. So then all those birds have to be put to rest. And that, of course, is not good for the birds, and it's not good for the farmer either.
Right. I wonder about all those free-range labels on organic egg cartons we see these days. They might not be accurate right now. Isn't that true?
Not quite as free as it used to be.
Yes, that's right, the bird flu. There's an outbreak of the bird flu, thus, farmers cannot produce poultry, which means you can't have chicken. And there's articles like this out there about Subway and other places reporting on supply chain issues, but not related to the typical answers that we're getting. Now it's the bird flu. It is amazingly convenient how many things just continue to occur to disrupt the supply chain. Does anyone know the excuses for why there's a shortage of baby formula? Other than, of course, that our government hates children and babies. And, well, we could just look to the Bible and Baal worship to see why and what these people are all about. But since we don't do that, other than people who listen to my channel or are like-minded like me, we could just, we could just scratch our heads as to why the government or why some of these food shortages actually occur. And they're running out of ideas, you would think. I'm thinking maybe tomorrow, maybe they're going to come up with an idea and just say that all of the cows just decided to teleport to the metaverse. Or, well, wait, they're already doing that, right? Because they are putting cows in virtual reality, if you haven't seen that. But let's stick to this story here about the supply chain. Just because it says this article, we took a break from reporting on supply chain issues doesn't mean the debacle has sorted itself out already. In fact, far from it. Subway is now reporting that they're running out of sandwich meat due to a perfect storm of production issues and the bird flu. According to Food and Wine magazine, franchises said the sliced turkey supply has dwindled, while others reported difficulty getting ham and roast beef as well. A spokesperson for the chain commented that supply. I'm laughing because it's unbelievable. I'm not laughing because of, obviously, we're all going to be going through it. So I'm laughing at the fact that people believe this stuff. It's unbelievable. Anyway, they commented that supply issues due to a temporary production issue at a protein supplier spurred the shortage, and that it's working to source meats from individual suppliers. On top of that, they are now reporting that there is a lack of poultry because of the bird flu. Because all these birds just happen to catch the flu. One sneezed on the next, right? This illusion of how germs and things are spread that they've just created when, I'm pretty sure that the things they tell you to prevent it are the things that actually give it to you, like, the chemicals and stuff in soaps. But we won't get into that because I don't want anyone's heads to explode. But let's just keep to the narrative here of now it's the bird flu. So what happens? The birds have the flu, because this has never happened before, of course. Conveniently, it's all happened right now and while all of these things, this perfect storm is brewing, conveniently there's a bird flu. And now the farmers are told to self-isolate the birds and keep them inside. And of course, they can't make chicken and they can't make poultry until the bird flu passes, which may never happen. They might have to actually put down the chickens and put the birds down. So they say those other supplies might run into similar issues. However, the USDA, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, reports that there are 292 confirmed cases of commercial and backyard flocks with the highly contagious bird flu across 34 states. And every state, conveniently, has the same story, right? Word for word, the Sinclair Broadcast Organization, where they're telling you the same thing. And every state on their local affiliate news is talking about it. And then, of course, they just quietly slip it into the national broadcast about why there's food shortages. And if people don't use their brain and realize to control people more, they would need to, control the food more and the water more. Now they already control it, but now we have suppliers, we have railroads, we have all these other businesses and manufacturers who are doing the bidding of the government because the government's paying them heavily. And they're saying, look, we're going to Jimmy Hoffa you if you don't follow what we say. So you have two choices. You can go sleep with the fishes, or you could burn down your own manufacturing plant and, we'll give you double what you normally make. How's that? And then you have these guys like I recovered a few weeks ago who are reporting the fires at their plants, smiling ear to ear, and don't seem upset at all about the fact that their plants have burned to the ground. Boy, or you could just look at the farmers who have been told to burn their own crops. But anyway, just last month, the USDA predicted poultry prices to soar by 7.5% and 8.5% this year, with wholesale poultry prices up as much as 30% in March, all of which you can blame on the bird flu. Subway was similarly forced to raise its prices. So continuing the inflation narrative, for those of you who don't understand, they're trying to destroy the middle class, which is pretty much everyone in America. The people who are at the poverty level identify as liberals. And it's not because the world hates them and doesn't allow them to work and do things like that. It's because they're lazy and they're incompetent and they want to play video games all day and get paid for it and sit around and do nothing and actually never even work. So we have people who want to destroy the middle class. And the government, of course, by creating inflation, makes the middle class poorer. And trust me, everybody who listens to this channel for them, I mean, look, you might not have any money and money does not matter, but it matters to survive, to feed yourself. They're causing the inflation on purpose and the shortages on purpose so that you can turn to them. Universal basic income, okay? Controlling your housing, controlling what you can buy, and everybody having an equal amount of money, which, of course, they tell everyone is wonderful because of that, it'll create love and utopia, and everybody will be getting along. It's all lie after lie after lie. And then when people realize it, it's going to be too late, because they're already going to have given up all their rights to the government, and the government's going to have full control, and the citizens will be unarmed and able to protect themselves for the tyrannical government. But of course, we have weak people who are too stupid to see that and think that all of us are making up in our heads while they're sitting there pretending that what's going on in their video games is the actual world that we're living in. It's pretty amazing. And then these people actually are vocal and defiant of, quote unquote conspiracy theorists and conspiracy theories because they think they have a clue about what's going on, and they don't. And then they look at things like this supply chain issue and they say that it's a conspiracy theory. And like I said a few days ago, when you see Snopes talking about it, guess what? You know that it's real. You have two broken down old farts who are supported by the Soros Foundation and our government who just go around looking at conspiracies and putting up what they call fact checking and saying every single thing that any of us talk about is in fact false, and it turns up number one in all the Google searches conveniently, and these losers just sit around their home pointing a finger and doing the government's bidding and causing division amongst people because they have no brains whatsoever. And I'd love to have the people from Soaps come on my channel if they ever would be interested in doing it. I'd love to dismantle them in every way, shape, or form and pretty much walk them down a cellar into a cellar. Sorry, I'm going off on a rant here, but back to the point. The point being is that none of these people look at all the things going on with the supply chain and connect it and say, that's way too many coincidences to be happening at once. When you have world leaders meeting openly about resetting everything and destroying everything and starting fresh. And then all of a sudden, we have 99,000 problems with starvation, with income, with equality, with being able to deliver goods and services. Are you kidding me? Supply chain issues. So you're telling me that none of these companies want to make money? Everything's on back order. What are they doing? Oh, they're staying home because they're afraid of the flu. Oh, that makes sense. And now on top of it, they can't come up with enough excuses to tell us why they can't put food in the grocery stores. They're telling people now the bird flu. And they're laughing hysterically because they're watching these morons actually believe it. What if they came out and flat out said, we're not going to feed you anymore because we hate all of you, and we're going to give you little portions of food and rations, and you'll be lucky if we keep you alive. If you agree with us, maybe we'll spare you. These imbeciles would go, okay, sounds like fun. Okay, sign me up. They are so dumb. Anyone who doesn't think that this is on purpose, I don't know what you need to see to understand that the governments are doing this on purpose. They are making up every excuse possible. Last time, a week ago, it was the FBI talking about cyber attacks. So you're telling me, let's hypothetically think. You're telling me that there are guys sitting in basements in Russia who have nothing better to do than to attack supply chains in America because they want to starve Americans. All right? Well, of course, everybody with common sense would say no, because wouldn't they try to hack and steal someone's money so they could buy cars or gamble or do whatever they want, drugs? Oh, no. They want to starve everyone. Okay. Then you have apparently the whole world is dependent on Ukraine for food. Go figure. Nobody ever told us this until now, right? So now we have that mixed into it. We have railroads with congestion because, we're all driving down the highway, right? And we're all looking around seeing the railroads, and it's just like, whoa, I'm so glad I'm on the highway and not on the railroad because that traffic is insane. They're backed up, bumper to bumper. Whew. What more do people need to see? What's the next excuse? I don't know. Are they going to tell us that You know, because originally they told us the supply chain issue was because of farmers not producing stuff because of the 1/9er. And then so much common sense you would think would have prevailed that people would say, well, isn't it more important that we eat food than, it's either die of starvation or get the flu. I think I'll take my chances with the flu. No, let's just not produce food because we don't want to get germs. Oh, and people actually believe that. And ever since then, it's been one domino after the next as to how they can cancel the food supply. And then, of course, you have all the stuff with the water, right? Oh, we have water reservoirs draining. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but there's been story after story about Utah. Oh, bodies are popping up. Reservoirs are draining out. There's no water, apparently. But the government tells you that they can control the weather for good purposes and good things to do good. And, yet there's fires all over the place and droughts and right. But the government has your best interest at heart. Of course, when it's about political parties, then people just don't want to question their own party, the Republican or Democrat, because they're on that team. So they're like, well, I don't want to get into that. So now you have the liberals who are just like, well, we're not going to criticize the most incompetent human being that's ever lived, Joe Biden, who's obviously playing a role, because we're on that team. And then it goes back to the other side. And they're like, we're not going to criticize Trump. Oh, until you have no food anywhere. And suddenly what? You're going to go at each other's throats over what political party they're in? Oh, right. That's exactly what they want. Gotcha. Meanwhile, there's food not being shipped. And that's not the main focus of the news. It's trying to figure out what a woman is. Welcome to 2022, ladies and gentlemen. A reminder, I have a video up on my website about what they're doing with vitamins. That's right, vitamins. I should say supplements. They are cutting supplements. The FDA wants to review all supplements before they can go to the shelves. Of course they do, because they want to make sure that nobody has anything that could fight radiation poisoning, any types of antioxidants like NAC or anything else that might make people healthy and okay. They want everyone to be sick. And on top of that, they want everyone to eventually take their mark, which will cure them, like I talked about in my previous video. So